Captain Peter Cutsey, South Korea, and this is my briefing room. I've been doing a series of videos recently covering the supplementary procedures from the FCOM. Today, I'm going to speak about the air conditioning panel, which I'm sharing with you on the right side of the screen, and help you better understand what happens with the isolation valve. The isolation valve has three positions: open, close, and auto. Let's go over and have a look. Right now, the isolation valve is in the open position. And if we had the APU bleed air on, because the isolation valve is open, if you notice the left and right duct pressures are identical. Let's move the isolation valve closed. The isolation valve is closed regardless of the position of the four corner switches, which you learned all about in ground school. What you learned about in ground school was that if any one of those four switches is moved to the off position and the isolation valve switch is in auto, the isolation valve will open, of course, in order for air to move from one side to the other side. So right now, we have the isolation valve closed, so it's closed, regardless of the position of these four switches. If we move the isolation switch to auto, because the left pack and right pack are off, the isolation valve is open. If we turn the left pack to auto, the isolation valve is still open because one of the four switches is off. I'm referring to the left pack, right pack, number one engine bleed, and number two engine bleed. If any one of those four switches is off and the isolation valve is in the auto position, the isolation valve will open. And that's the situation we have here. I'll return the right pack to auto. The isolation valve position is in auto, but if you notice, the isolation valve is closed. Why? Because all the four corner switches are, we'll say, on, auto, on and on. So the automatic position says, I don't need to open because you've got right pack, left pack, number one engine bleed, number two engine bleed are on. So that's important to understand. So if we open the isolation valve, it's open regardless of these switches. The valve is open. And if you notice, as I'm moving the left, the four corner switches off and back on again, the left and right duct pressures are identical because the isolation valve is open. If the isolation valve is closed position, it's closed, regardless of those four switches. So we can move them off and on, and the valve is still closed. So the purpose of the isolation valve auto position is to ensure that when one of these four switches are off, that is, in the air conditioning system, the isolation valve will open. So in this case, we have it automatic, and the left system duct pressure is indicating 26 psi, and the right, or the number 2, duct pressure is 0. That's because the valve is closed. Because all the switches are, the four corner switches are on, and the APU bleed is on. That's why the left system, the APU bleed is from the left system. That's why we have a duct pressure. I hope this helps explain a little bit about the isolation valve. I wanted to mention it because in my future videos, we'll be covering isolated pack procedure and several other items from the supplementary procedures. Thanks for watching.